Chapter 0. The first thing the dreamer learned was that sleep is not a surrender, but a province. He had been told otherwise by priests of daylight, by the clerks of reason, by the little magistrates of the medicinal hour who pinned every nocturnal visitation beneath labels as though a pin through the thorax of a moth could explain the dust on its wings. They said the dark was deficiency. They said the dream was residue. They said the figure in the doorway was a nervous misfire, a rag of mind caught on the nail of the midnight brain. Yet the dreamer had seen too much for such municipal explanations. He had seen the hallway lengthen in the blind blue hour before dawn until it became an avenue of impossible perspective. A corridor in a palace built from thought and mildew and forgotten photographs. He had seen the coat stand breathe. He had seen the wardrobe door open a width no carpenter had installed. He had heard footfalls in the room above when there was no room above, only roof frost and the black arithmetic of stars. Above all, from childhood onward, he had seen the one who stood where shadow should have ended. The Hat Man. Not a man, not wholly, a vertical decision in the dark. A silhouette so exact it was almost a satire of exactness. Shoulders, coat brim, no face visible. Yet a pressure where a face ought to be, like the hollow made in velvet by a jewel long since pried out. He never rushed, he never flinched. He possessed that abominable stillness which only predators, idols, and dead emperors possess. Others now and then whispered of him. A cousin breathed a fever. A woman on a bus who spoke too softly to be sane or too sanely to be dismissed. An old man in a tobacco shop who, while selecting a cigar with sacerdotal gravity, remarked that there are some visitors one sees only when the soul is accidentally left unlatched. They all described him differently, yet never differently enough. The same hat, the same station at the threshold, the same impossible authority of outline. The dreamer did not fear him in the ordinary sense. Terror is a coarse instrument. What he thought was more refined, more humiliating, he felt observed in advance, as if the figure had not come to watch him, but had always already watched him. As if every shame, every fact of wish, every ridiculous grandeur of the heart had been entered beforehand into a ledger carried somewhere beneath that black coat. This was intolerable. For years he submitted to the visitation. That is the first great sin of the inward life. Not lust, nor vanity, nor blasphemy, but passive attendance at one's own haunting. He would wake with the iron taste of paralysis on his tongue. And there in the doorway the figure stood, patient as a tax. He tried prayers and they curdled. He tried drink and the thing only grew taller. He tried medicine and slept too deeply even to see which was worse. For absence of witnesses, not absence of event. He tried lovers and found that human warmth, though admirable in its season, cannot fill a threshold once the threshold has learned a name. Eventually he understood that the Hat Man was not merely a visitor, but a tenure, a claim, a sovereignty exercised from the borderland between image and command. That understanding altered him. He began quietly to prepare. By day he appeared ordinary enough. He bought bread, he spoke when spoken to. He washed his hands with the piety of one who knows contamination is subtle, but inwardly he entered upon a campaign of acquisition. He gathered strange books, not because he believed books truthful, but because their lies disclosed methods. He studied the mechanics of invocation in the same spirit. A locksmith studies tumblers. He filled notebooks with dreams, not their narratives only, but their temperatures, textures, acoustics, hidden geometries. He learned that certain dreams open like flowers and others like wounds. He learned that names in dreams were rarely names and nearly always handles. Most important, he ceased saying. The Hat Man, in his thoughts, with the cowardice of the victim, he began to say it as one might say a title before stripping it. He altered his sleeping chamber, not extravagantly, only enough to change the moral weather. He removed the mirror that faced the bed, because mirrors are vain collaborators. He placed at the threshold a narrow band of black salt mixed with iron filings and the ash of old letters. Above the lintel he marked a sign so small that even sunlight missed it. A sign not taken from any single tradition, but assembled like a contraband machine from fragments of several upon the bedside table. He kept a glass of water, a silver coin, a knife with the bone handle, and a hat of his own brimmed in dark, purchased from a second-hand shop whose proprietor looked at him too long when making change. He did not wear the hat. That would have been premature.
For 7 nights he performed no ceremony beyond attention. He lay down at the same hour. He slowed his prey. He slowed his prey.